Vivek, it's great to have you back. It sounds like you think the most obvious trade is going to be around semi-capital equipment, but that trade could last for several years.
Yes, thank you, Carl. Good morning. I think when we look at what happened yesterday, I think it's great news for the U.S. I think it's very good to have a more diversified supply chain. But when you think about this from the narrow perspective of just the semiconductor industry, it doesn't really change demand, right? Who cares where you are producing these chips, as long as you're producing them and the demand really follows the cycle and the product cycles. If you look on the supply side and you look at what Taiwan Semi plans to do, they were basically planning to move 1% of their capacity to the US. Now they will move 3 to 4% of their capacity to the US. So the point is that even a few years from now, 90% plus of leading edge chips will still be produced in Taiwan. So we are not really going to be independent of that dynamic. But it is true that over the next few years, there's a lot more fab construction that will happen in US and Europe and Japan, and even in China, despite all the restrictions. And I think that's really very positive for the semi-cap equipment names, KLA, Applied Materials, Lam Research. I think they are on the sweet spot of this cycle because they benefit from all the fab build-outs of the CHIPS Act. This is also a space where all the cycle cuts and the China restriction cuts are priced in, and the valuation makes a lot of sense. So semi-cap equipment is one of the first places I would be looking to add money in semis here.
Yeah, you can see on the chart where some of the China concerns weighed in, but then recovered on some of these more reshoring efforts. I am curious about the stocks overall. It sounds like you think, yeah, we might get a bit of a seasonal boost this quarter, but once we turn the calendar, things get more challenging. Can you talk about that and how much it's related to Europe?
Yeah, Carl, so it's interesting that the SOX peaked in December of last year. Nobody was talking about a recession then, just as nobody is talking about an upturn or the next cycle right now. And I think the point I'm trying to make here is that semiconductor sales and semiconductor stocks peak well before the cycle turns, but they also trough well before the cycle turns. So our baseline assumption is that the semiconductor industry started to see the slowdown very early this year, in Q2 of this year, when the sales peaked. I think Q4 or Q1 is the bottom of the cycle. And if you're right, I think we actually have a soft landing ahead because compares start to get easier for semiconductor stocks. So we are actually quite positive on semiconductor stocks going into next year. That doesn't, of course, disregard the fact that we could still have some negative headlines in Q4 or Q1. But overall, as an industry, we think that we are in front of a soft landing. And if the sales start to recover in the second half of next year, then we think semiconductor stocks are going to bottom right about now.
Vivek, I want to call out the implications of this TSMC investment in the U.S., the implications for Intel. It seems to up the pressure on Intel to execute on its process technology roadmap. They got to not only catch up to TSMC, they have to pass them with this additional investment that TSMC is making, right?
Absolutely. I think Intel faces three tough issues. First is over half of their core business is exposed to the PC market. That's a very tough market to be in. We are past growth in that market, and they are losing market share to both Apple doing its own processors and to AMD. Second problem they face is in the core data center and the server market. AMD continues to produce better products and gain more market share. So Intel faces tough challenges in its core business. Now, when it comes to getting into the foundry side, the problem they have is that if they cannot produce leading edge chips for their own products, how can customers come to them to act as a foundry? And then there is a business model conflict. Most of the customers that you saw at the ceremony yesterday, Apple, Qualcomm, AMD, NVIDIA, they all to some extent compete against Intel. So I think there's a lot of conflict of interest in that business model. So both, I think the lack of technology, secondly, this business model conflict, and third, and most importantly, is if I can get reliable capacity from TSMC outside of Taiwan and the US, I have no reason to look for another foundry partner.